Your strength is not that you can read people and please people and make them like you. That's your ego. Your ego thinks that that's a cool way of getting more out of life or making life easier. But what you lose in the process is the center of your energy, where it actually comes from. And that is from knowing that you have energy. Welcome, everybody, to our Wednesday Energy Talk. My name is Jona Bryndis, and I'm an energy healer and energy coach, and I walk you through different subjects from an energetic perspective. So we do this here together, and I usually start out with a little bit of a lecture or a topic. Today's topic is spiritual martial arts, and this happens to be my favorite topic of all, namely how to how to apply our energy awareness and give all this, being energetically sensitive, a purpose, understanding how things work in the world, seeing truth maybe a little more or a little different than other people. Like, what is the actual application for this? And I know that many of you are interested in contextualizing all your impulses to wanting to understand things in a deeper way, just wanting to see the bigger picture, to having a desire to live in a more like what we would call heart state, or wanting life to be less of a struggle. And that's something that I personally have learned from martial arts. So some of you know this. I used to do martial arts, and I wasn't really that big of a talent. Yeah, I'm actually quite clumsy. I'm 6 foot tall, not very nimble. I'm not very flexible, although I have to say that the regular training did wonders there. So when I started martial arts, it wasn't for becoming a martial artist. It was something that I saw watching the training, and it was my kids' training that I watched, a story that I hear a lot from parents who experienced this. I always thought that the pure physical way of interacting with people is a little limited, and I wasn't really that much of a physical person. I was more of a head person, and so I was a little standoffish at first. But here's what I learned. And this is something that I have been sharing with others, and especially women, because I think it's a lesson that we cannot learn anywhere else. And that is that if whatever it is that I am thinking, whatever it is that I am feeling, if that's not congruent, if I can't back that up in my expression, in the way I carry myself, the way I say things, the way I hold my whole attitude, then it doesn't seem to have a lot of power, does it? I can be the most intellectual person in the world. I can understand, mathematical equations or chemical formulas or how the universe works. But if I'm with people and I have nothing really that connects me with them, or due to the way I act or I behave, like say I'm a little aloof, or I feel that other people aren't getting me, so I kind of separate myself a little bit, I won't really be socially successful. So in this 10-15 year of martial arts training that I've done, there are some things that obviously fascinated me, and they had to do with the energetic component of martial arts. Yes, so why is it that these old Chinese or Korean or Japanese teachers, why they all talk about energy? What is it that made Bruce Lee such a phenomenal fighter, even though it didn't seem like he had a lot of different moves? He was a small guy, But some people just seem to have a lot more power. Fighting magic in Tai Chi, for example, if you study martial arts, I don't want to bore you with this. But why is it that it seems that fighting or, the winning in interaction seems so effortless for some people, whereas other people have to constantly exert themselves and, go all the way to their last energy reserves. And here is what I found out. Partially, it's the holistic aspect of it. It's how we carry the whole of us. Yeah, so you can be a very good technician and still be dominated and run by your fears, by your performance anxiety, by what other people think about you. And that weakens you. You can be very self-confident, but can't really back it up. So to bring those two things together seems to be the trick here. And why am I calling this spiritual martial arts? Why is this relevant for you guys as energetically sensitives, as healers, as energy workers, as conscious manifestors, as spiritually aware people? It has to do with how you back this up. Yeah, you can read The Secret 100 million times. You can, immerse yourself in the power of now and all these kind of popular concepts. Yeah, you can do trauma healing and processing, all the things that have happened to you that have shaped your life. And you can understand everything there is to understand from metaphysics, esoterics, or, spiritual sciences, or, religions and so forth, and still feel that life is a struggle. And one of the things that I want to share with you here today, there will be a workshop about the dimensions of thinking and why it all starts with our thinking, all right? But today I want to show the holistic aspect of it. I want to show the mechanism between your body mind, that is your body, yeah, those physiological, biological conditionings and hardwires that you have with your emotions and with your thoughts, and how that influences your overall energetic power. So energetic martial arts is nothing but unveiling the secret of what makes your energy powerful, and with that, life become less effort. What is it for you guys that you run into as a continual, ever repeating struggle? What have you identified as the biggest fight in your life? Who wants to share? Janet is sharing here, along with many other aspects. It's like a deep body meditation and alignment in your experience. I'm assuming you're talking about martial arts. Yes, martial arts asks us to not just discipline and form structures and routines for our physical fitness, but also for our mental fitness. And yes, Janet, that's where the trick is here. That's where the secret is. What have you guys, on a very practical level, identified as one of the main stumbling blocks? Like, say, you got money figured out, or you got career figured out, or you got friends figured out, you got creativity figured out. Let's say you've figured out many different areas of your life already, but one. And that one area, let's say, maybe relationships, yeah, boundaries, yeah, or how to relate to people in a deeper way, having, being able to connect deeper with people. What is it for you that you have identified as something that keeps coming in, seemingly controlling or dominating your life's struggles? Yes, relationships. Mm-hmm. Let's investigate the mechanics of relationships as you guys are coming up with more aspects of your life. The reason why people are successful in martial arts is not necessarily because they are the best in a particular technique. The reason why people are successful in martial arts, and this could be transferred over to life, is because they know what their strengths are. And this is the key here for you guys, they know what it is that they want to get out of it. They know what they're in for, why they're doing it. And they have the wits to understand how this game works. Yeah? I'm using the word game, and this might be a little confusing for you because not many of us are willing to see life as a game. But this is where the spiritual contextualization comes in. It can help us with seeing life as a game. Namely, once you realize that there is something like a spirit being in you, and that there is something more than just dealing with this 3D physical aspect of your life, you realize that, it's like a card game. You have this lifetime and you get a certain number of cards that are dealt, and those are the ones that you need to work with. Those are the ones that you have, and all you can do is really do the best with what you have. The trick with the cards that you've dealt with, we often call this karma, is to understand that it's neither a punishment nor bad or good luck. It's also not random. There's a reason why you were dealt certain cards, and once you understand the nature of this game for you, so why am I having issues with boundaries in relationships? Why do I keep attracting people into my life that are exploitative, or that try to dominate me, or that try to take things for granted from me? Or why is that? Those are parts of these cards. Those are aspects of the cards that were dealt to you. So what is the nature of this game? Obviously, the nature of the game, relationships, is to overcome something that is not aware to us, to overcome an area in our life where we have low self-esteem, where we have no confidence, where we do things maybe to make up for other things, or where we do things to avoid confrontations, where we do things to hide our flaws. Maybe it is about our flaws, and maybe the nature of the game is really just understanding that what it is that I have taken as a narrative in my life, as the story of my life, is what is actually limiting me. Maybe it is the trauma that I have experienced, and some kind of causation, some kind of reasoning that we come up with, like, oh, because I grew up this and this way, it's harder for me in that area, for example. Yes, and Cindy, you're bringing in a wonderful point here. Anytime I externalize anything, I'm giving away my power. This is basically a level higher, because that can be applied to pretty much all areas of our lives. The physical health, the emotional experience, the mental contextualization, our beliefs that we have, and how all that expresses in our financial wealth, and our friendships, and our social emotional world, and how we feel that life gives back to us what we put out there. It has a lot to do with where we see the power originating. And if we see the power originating outside of ourselves, like we have to live up to a certain standard, or we have to live up to certain rules and certain things that are given to us from the outside, we are setting ourselves up for struggle. So what Cindy meant here with the words externalize is that she's understood that part of the reason why her life is a struggle, and I hope that I don't misrepresent what you meant here, Cindy, please jump in, is that whenever she externalizes her power, when she sees the power for, what could make her happy, or what could make her feel more confident, or what could make her win the game, or what could help her to overcome like perceived flaws or things in herself that she thinks isn't, up to par, measured by some kind of outer power or outer rule, all right, then she loses power. Then she is not just given away her power, but it also immediately shows in her life as a struggle, as something that she now sees herself resisting or fighting against. And that is quite profound, actually, because when one studies the history and the meaning of martial arts, and also how it is ideally applied, things like the Art of War, Lao Tzu, or the Bhagavad Gita, writings that, show us in form of analogies, that a good martial artist is actually not someone who fights to win. A good martial artist is someone who has a strategy before they actually enter the battle, all right, and knows that he's already won the game. The question is, how can we apply this to our life? How can I know that I'm going to be winning this game and therefore staying all relaxed, right? So I never really won any titles or anything. I won a few tournaments. And I tell you how I won them. This took me a few times to figure this out. It wasn't that I knew that I was so good, but there was something about that. 3 things that I identified. First of all, and that's quite important because that has to do with our motivation. I loved competing. I loved sparring. I loved this, interaction. Yeah, I just love it. It's a passion of mine. I can, say this about playing card games or other kind of games as well. I love playing. I love playing games, not like mind games, but, like things that have rounds, and I'm in there for the fun. I'm in there for the joy. Now, when you do martial arts, it's a bit tricky because if you lose, you usually take a few hits. It's painful, right? So part of my motivation, and that's number 2, was obviously to avoid any kind of pain. All right, so that's, goes along with our ego. I didn't want to experience pain. I wanted to have the joy, but I didn't want to have the pain. So I needed to come up with a strategy that allows me to do things in the most energy conserving way. And one of the things that I noticed was that if I try to attack a lot, all right, I am exerting myself a lot. If I sit there and stay calm and center my energy and just wait and see what comes and focus on responding in an optimal way, I made a lot less mistakes. See, in the beginning, when I started my martial arts training, I got confused with all the techniques that I learned, and I had nightmares, of like being in a fight with someone, like, an assault or something, and not knowing what to do, like being frozen, not knowing what to do. This is what I see happening with many of you. You know a lot of techniques, but there is not enough centering, not enough consolidation in your energy to know what to apply and how to apply this in the most effective way. The third secret that I found out was that I need to know what my strengths are. What was my strength? Well, I hated to admit that at first, but one of my strengths was that I was tall. I've always hated the fact that I was tall, because 6 foot for a woman is quite challenging, especially in my age. Okay, so when I entered the rink, I could literally feel my opponent's energy go down, just due to the fact that I was tall. And that taught me that a lot of situations in my life where I have rejected my tallness, which is just a physical feature, it's genetic, I can't do anything for it, but where I have rejected it is also where I have lost a lot of power. I notice things, and I'm still struggling with this a little bit, that have to do with how I carry my energy. I always felt very self-conscious about being tall, and so I kind of lowered myself. Yeah, I had a little bit of a sort of hunched posture. Yeah, and I would always try to make myself feel smaller, more equal to the other person. And that's something I see in a lot of you guys when you interact with other people, not perhaps in the physical sense, but in the sense that you go down onto the level of the other person because you don't realize what your strength is. Your strength is not that you can read people and please people and make them like you. That's your ego. Your ego thinks that that's a cool way of getting more out of life or making life easier. But what you lose in the process is the center of your energy, where it actually comes from. And that is from knowing that you have energy. Okay, so coming back to the example with martial arts, it wasn't so much that I knew that I was going to have good or bad chances. It was that I knew I was tall, and I knew that that was an advantage. Yeah, I knew that when it came to techniques, it'd probably be a disadvantage. And trust me, guys, I've lost a lot of fights against tiny people who had this really low center of gravity that could move so fast, where I was just standing there like an idiot. Okay, so I knew that this was potentially a trap, but for as long as I took that which I knew that was my advantage and built on that and made that my power, yeah, it made myself bigger even in my energy. I had won the battle before it even started. The first time my opponent would take a hit from me, they would give up mentally, energetically, because they'd convinced themselves that because they're so small, they have no chance against me. Do you get this? This is how the game works. This is how spiritual martial arts works, guys. And I'm not saying, to misuse your energetic sensitivity and your energy awareness, to feel superior, because in life, and especially in relationships, it's not about being superior. It's about knowing where your power is. It's about knowing where your passion is. And it's about knowing how you can save that, how you can protect that, how you can use that without exerting yourself, without, externalizing your power to the other or the system or the boss or the job or money. You get this? Yeah? Know where your power is, know what your passion is, and understand the game. And as an energetically sensitive who understands these dynamics, yeah, of the game and a fight, you need to come to the place that you understand what the purpose of your energetic sensitivity is. In other words, also the power, the advantage that comes with it. You know that there's a much bigger game. What's the bigger game? The bigger game is the evolution of your own soul. It's not how much money you have, how many friends you have, how many times sex you can have in a day or a week or whatever. It's not in how your ego feels about yourself. Your ego is temporary. All that you experience through your body mind, this combo of sensations, emotions, and thoughts, that for as long as it stays unreflected, runs you. It's like an external force that runs you, even though it is pre-programmed in you. We call this the ego. For as long as your ego runs you, guys, you cannot see that. And you exert yourself all the way to getting sick and ignoring all those physical signals, that you're feeling that this isn't working for you, that this isn't sustainable, that this isn't conducive. So understanding the game means that you know that there's a bigger reality, that there's a greater self than your ego. And that what you're in for here, this temporary game, this round that you are playing, that you are battling in, is all about you consciously understanding what your power is, consciously choosing how to express it, and consciously applying it at every given moment. Those are the rules of the greater game. And if you feel that you have to win this game through struggle and exerting yourself, then you're still in your ego game. Then you are still trying to fight to win the battle. Understand that the ego battle that is out there isn't the real battle, isn't what it's all about. Understand that what is going on out there, all the craziness, all the bizarre unfolding of truth, that is just lots of ego rah-rah. It has no meaning for the greater development of your personal power, other than you recognizing that is not your game anymore. So let me just summarize and rephrase this real quick. If you are still believing that your true power is outside of you, if you are still believing that you have to be in a certain way in order to be loved, in order to be seen, in order to bring yourself into expression, that you have to be different from who you are, that you have to hide all your flaws, and that you have to sort of cope with all the cards that you see as kind of bad karma, you will get swept away by all these external forces, guys, because they're working heavy right now, and they know the game. They're playing this game on an energetic level. Some call there's a spiritual war out there, and that's correct. But not in the sense of angel and demons, but that scares people, that spooks people. It's a lot easier to understand that the game here is about influencing your mind, your emotions, and your body into believing that you have no power. And that's why energetic martial arts helps you to understand what your power is, what the game is, and how to master it. It also helps you to understand why it's necessary for you to protect your energy, but not in the way that you think, not in the way of going against and convincing other people of truth or, their mistakes. No. Protecting your energy in the way that you understand the source of your energy comes from within yourself. And if you allow your energy to be too externalized, if you see yourself from the outside in, if you care more about what other people think of you or what President X is doing over there or inflation or money or whatever, in that moment you've externalized your power and you lost the game. Yes, less wielding, more being. although more being, Janet, yeah, is also part of wielding. Yeah, so we have to understand that it is in the consolidation of our energy. And in order to learn this, we've got to train our perception, because our perception, for as long as we are in our ego, is dominated by our senses, by our emotions, and by our unconscious thought, by collective thinkingness. And collective thinkingness is, at this moment, the biggest danger to our power, because it's very strong, it's very big. You can see this in media, in politics, yeah? And therefore, the number one reason why you need to do energy awareness training, you need to know how this happens, that you get pulled into agreeing, into allowing your energy to be outside of yourself, externalized. You need to understand the game. Just like in martial arts, it's not enough to just have a good body. And it doesn't actually matter what kind of body you have. It doesn't matter if you're short, if you're tall, if you're flexible or not. Everybody can get good at martial arts. Everybody can get good at energy awareness and self-mastery. Yeah? You just need to know the rules of that. Thank you, everybody. Share these links, share these videos. Yeah, make sure that you don't stay in your woodwork, okay? You're not alone in this, guys. This is a big thing. All right. I love you, and I see you soon, Friday, for the next Energy Update Live.